Hello guys, and welcome to part 2 of my video where I'm answering all of your questions that you sent me on Instagram about sex. S-E-X. If you haven't seen part 1, I answer questions such as what to do if your partner has a low libido, or what to do if you have no sex drive and want to boost it. Tips on how to orgasm if you can't through penetrative sex. If you're embarrassed about the look of your vulva. How to give your partner feedback about what you do and don't like in the bedroom, and loads more. So if you want answers to any of those questions, I'll leave a link to that down below. And in this video, I'm going to be answering so many more of your questions, which I think a load of you are going to find really helpful. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start with a relatively simple one to ease us back in. The question is, what do you think about sex with an ex? I just don't think that is a good idea at all. I think unless you guys are on really good terms and there's no unfinished business or there's no unrequited love, I do not think it's worth getting into at all. Your ex is for a reason. Yeah, sure, the sex might have been great and you might really know how to turn each other on. I just think it's worth avoiding because feelings might come back and the other person might still not want to change things. I just don't think it's worth going with. There are plenty more fish in the sea. There are so many more people out there that you can have sex with, and obviously you can also masturbate if you want a quick fix of an orgasm. Have I ever had sex with an ex? I don't think I have. Maybe once, and I definitely regretted it afterwards because I still wasn't over that person, so I don't think it's worth doing. Avoid. During masturbation, is there any way to stop the orgasm happening so fast? Yes, there is. One of my favorite things is called edging. Anyone can do this. It's where you get to the point of an orgasm, but then you stop just before and kind of relax and don't touch yourself for a minute or two and let the feeling kind of slip back, and then you can do it again. Edging is a great way to kind of enhance stamina so you can keep going for longer, and you can do it during sex as well with a partner. That is probably my biggest tip on to stop orgasming so quickly. But I mean, it's a great thing that you can make it happen so fast. You're obviously a pro and you obviously really know what your body likes, so that's a great thing. I always get an intense urge to pee during penetrative sex and I cannot figure out why. Okay, there's a couple of reasons I think this is happening for you, but I would like to say here, I'm not a doctor. This is just my personal advice. So if you are actually worried that it might be a medical issue, then please go and talk to your doctor about anything. That you've got nothing to be embarrassed about. But my first thought is, babe, you're about to squirt, you're about to ejaculate. Ride that wave and experiment with it. When you are having penetrative sex and something is stimulating your G-spot, then a lot of fluid pulls around that kind of organ and cause you to ejaculate, and it can feel very much like you're about to wee. It's the exact same feeling as needing a wee. So that is my first thought. If you haven't done it with a partner before, or you're worried about talking about that with a partner, then just say to them, I really feel like I need to pee. Can I fully let go and go with the flow? Like, just let yourself feel that sensation. But on the other hand, it could just be the fact that sometimes during sexual stimulation there is pressure on your bladder or your urethra, so it could be something as simple as that. But if you're concerned, maybe go talk to your doctor about it. That reminds me as well, please, 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 whatever you do, make sure you go for a wee after you have sex. If you have a vagina, don't just lay around in bed and go to sleep. You must get up and go for a sex wee afterwards, because if you do not, you are prone to developing UTIs, and they are the worst things ever to experience. Have a little cuddle after sex, have a little cry, whatever you do, but make sure you always go for a wee afterwards. If there's one thing your mum should have taught you, it is that. Queefing, funny or not, I think you can only laugh at a situation where you have a fanny fart. The only other option is to feel really embarrassed about it, and that will ruin the mood, and you'll be embarrassed and then they will feel embarrassed, and yeah, you might as well just laugh or ignore it. It happens to the best of us. This question makes me feel really sad. Every time I have sex with a guy I'm dating, they then ghost me. It's hard to feel like it's not my fault. Oh my god, I want to reach out of the screen and give you the biggest hug right now. Firstly, this is not a reflection of you. Please do not feel like this is your fault that this keeps happening to you. You deserve to be treated with the utmost respect by all people you're dating. Unfortunately, there are some not very nice people out there who don't have the courage to be honest and say what they're after or why they don't think it's gonna work. I think ghosting is absolutely awful. It is not a reflection of you at all. You do not deserve it. I guess my advice to you would be, I mean, I don't know know much more than that, but try and hold out a few more dates until you have sex with them. Maybe 3 or 4 dates in would be a good amount of time to really be able to judge what kind of person they are, if you really feel like you have a future together. I think it's quite easy to spot a red flag from someone, and if they're a really nice guy or just up for a bit of sex. Look out for signs if you can, if they are just out for sex, if they're very confident and cocky and get what they want and very forward, then they might just be out for sex. Whereas if they're really kind and ask you questions and seem really interested in you and are also happy taking it slow, then I think that might go to show that they're actually a little bit more of a decent human being than the previous, and that it's worth you getting intimate with them. The next one is all about initiating sex, and I had quite a few of these. So a few of them were: I'm too shy to initiate sex with him for fear of rejection, what do I do? How to initiate sex in a long-term relationship that isn't just like sex, question mark, if you want. And my boyfriend always says he wants me to initiate sex, but I just can't, how? Hashtag anxious and lazy. I have had this problem before. I personally am not very good at initiating sex, and I've got a little bit of a funny story here. My way of initiating sex with my partner used to be, I would just say to him, are you tired? Because I didn't know how else to initiate it. In my head, if I asked him that and he was like, yeah, I'm tired, then I'd be like, oh, okay, we won't have sex tonight. But if he said, no, I'm not tired, then I'd be like, right, okay, then I'd start kissing him, and then I'd start putting it on him. And it became a little bit of a private joke of us saying to each other, so are you tired tonight? I'm not explaining it very well. Even I am awful at initiating sex, but there are some really, really easy ways to do it without making it too embarrassing for you. So my first top tip is just to start kissing. Hug them, kiss them, even something as simple as kissing with tongues, which we don't maybe all do if we've been in a relationship for a while. We don't do all the time. So just getting really sensual with your partner and having physical touch is one surefire way of initiating sex without actually saying anything. 9 times out of 10, if you're to snog a boy with tongues and spend some time being touchy-feely with them, they are going to get aroused, and so are you. I also know that if I go to bed wearing some sexy lingerie instead of just my normal pajamas, then for sure my partner is going to know my intentions and will kind of get the idea without me having to necessarily say anything. So if you're nervous about talking to your partner about stuff like that, but you do want to initiate it, wear some sexy underwear to bed. Even be wearing it when they get home from work, or turn up in their house with some underwear on and a coat like in the movies. Nibbling someone's neck, kissing their ears, rubbing their chest, help them get undressed. It's all about, personally for me, instead of do you want to have sex? Yeah. Or are you tired? I just think it should be more about physical touch. I also think another great way of initiating sex without being so forthright is to just be like, do you want to have a shower together, or do you want to have a bath? Bubble bath and lathering each other up is such a great way to kind of spice things up a little bit, and also but get you both in the mood because you're both freshly clean. It's really difficult not to have a bath or shower with someone and not end up kind of in bed together afterwards. Also, a little bit of play fighting can be a good way to initiate sex as well. Period sex. I do have at the start and at the end, but not in the midst of the bloodiness, thoughts. Personally for me, I think there are so many pros to having period sex. In fact, I could make a whole video on why period sex is such a great idea. But firstly, most girls are hornier on their periods, so why shouldn't you not be able to have sex when you're at your most horny? It's extra free lubrication. Who needs lube when you've got blood? It can sometimes be really sexy as well to be at your kind of most vulnerable and to have a partner who really doesn't give a shit and really wants you and your body regardless. It's a massive turn on. Also, your hormones when you're on your period are at their most kind of hyped and crazy, and that just makes sex so much more exciting. It makes orgasms a lot more, what's the word, extreme and intense as well. I understand that period sex sometimes could be really intimidating, especially if it's with a new partner and you don't know how they would react or how to bring up that conversation for the first time with a new partner. But like, I mean, we're all girls have them unless you're on contraception. It's normal, and if you meet a really decent guy, then I'm sure that they would love that too. I have a question here which I couldn't quite believe when I read it. It is, my partner watches porn every time we have sex. Is this normal? I would definitely say that this behaviour is verging on some sort of porn addiction, and if it was me, I would be really, really upset and unhappy with this. There's so many resources online about porn addiction. I don't know if you've tried talking to your boyfriend before about this and how he is talking about stuff like this, but I'm guessing if he watches porn with you when you're having sex, then he should be comfortable enough talking about it with you as well. For me personally, I don't think this is a sign of a very healthy relationship, and especially if your self-esteem is suffering because of this. Like, if you think that he can't get off just looking at you and that he needs the look of other porn stars in order to get off, that could be really damaging for your mental health and your self-esteem as well, and I think that's definitely where problems can come up. If he really values you and respects you as a person and as his partner, I'm sure he should be willing enough to listen to your concerns and try and think about ways that he could change that. I think this is definitely probably a psychological thing. Like, no one needs porn in order to get off and to have sex and orgasm. He just needs to rein it back in and be more mindful about having sex with you and what it feels like to have sex with a natural human being, rather than this kind of visionary getting off by something else you're looking at. I really hope that you can find a way to talk to your partner about this and your concerns. At the end of the day, if it's upsetting you and it's hurting you, then it's definitely something that he should consider and that you should be able to talk to him like an adult about. My boyfriend is very insecure with me using any toys on my own and together. Any advice, please? The only thing I can think of as to why he doesn't like you using toys is because he thinks it's a threat and because he is intimidated by them. In this case, I think it's about making him feel comfortable with it and making him less intimidated by them. There are ways that you can do this, like making him feel more secure in himself and his abilities, but also showing him how much pleasure you get from them and that you can still both have fun with toys. A cock ring is a great way to introduce him to sex toys too. It's very small, it's discreet, it will give pleasure for both of you, and maybe something like that would show him that they're not to be threatened by, and instead he could benefit from toys as well. I definitely feel like that's a little bit of a red flag, and that surely he wants you to have pleasure too, so why wouldn't he allow you to use toys if that really got you off? A couple of questions here about blowjobs. Never given a proper blowjob, and now I'm 26 and not sure if I should give a guy a heads up. I don't think you need to draw attention to the fact that you haven't given a blowjob before, especially if you feel insecure or embarrassed about that at all. 26, I wouldn't say, is a really, really old age to never have done that before. I think if you are a little bit worried and concerned, I think maybe watching a tiny bit of porn and seeing kind of some tips and some ways to do it, so that when you're face to face with a penis, it isn't going to be so intimidating. But try and just be confident with it. Like, I'm sure the guy would never ever know that you've never given one before. Just make sure you leave teeth out of the equation unless you know that they really like that. Just be confident with it and have fun. And the second question, how to feel comfortable giving head. I have a fear of them coming in my mouth. I think that's just about communication. If you're worried and that you don't want to give a blowjob because of that, you just need to say to them beforehand, let me know, give me a heads up before you're about to come, because I don't want that to happen. I think it's also quite easy to work out when a man is about to orgasm. You can kind of read their body language, like watch, if you're doing 69, watch their feet, and if their feet are like going wild for it, then they could be about to orgasm. If they're breathing more heavily, if they're moaning, they can all be signs that they're about to come, so you can prevent your face being in the way for that. So they are all of your questions. I hope they've been helpful for you. I know this video is a lot shorter than the last, but I'm trying to keep them a little bit more short and snappy than previously. Do follow me on Instagram, because I'm going to be asking for more of your questions soon, and I hope you have a great weekend, guys. Love you lots. Mwah!